So as we definitely all know by now, Carlos Prates will not be getting the shot at Leon Edwards next because JDM is getting it. But there still is hope for Prates in terms of a higher ranking opponent because Geoff Neal is open to fighting Carlos Prates. And that is a true test for Prates. And it would be fun to watch because both fighters are extremely powerful. Geoff Neal is a heavy hitter, really heavy handed. Um, in his last fight, knocked his opponent out with them heavy ass hands. Um, you know, he's a great fighter. He's powerful. He's good when it comes to striking. He suffered a loss against Shavkat, but who hasn't? Um, and on the other end of things, you got Carlos Prates, a rising star, a really lengthy fighter in terms of striking. And that coupled with the enormous amount of power he's got too, he's a dangerous man. And he showed it against Neil Magny, where he was able to knock Neil Magny out with a punch that clipped Neil Magny's head. It didn't land dead on, just about nicked Neil Magny's head. And that nick was all it took for Neil Magny to get sick and lie down for a canvas nap. So yeah, Carlos Prates is a really powerful, dangerous guy. So is Neil Magny. This fight is fireworks, and I look forward to seeing it if it is made. I hope it's made. Again, Geoff Neal said yes. The UFC should take that as a sign to immediately book the fight because it's a good test for Prates. And if Prates passes this test, Prates turns out to be a top guy. You know, if Geoff Neal fraud checks Prates, Geoff Neal likely gets a chance to be close to a title shot. You know, maybe a rematch against Shavkat, you know, is in his future. Who knows? But you know, again, this is more importantly a big test for Carlos Prates and a well-earned test. So we could finally see if Carlos Prates truly has what it takes to be a top guy. He was tested against Neil Magny, but not so much because Neil Magny is here and there when it comes to, you know, how do I put this? When it comes to solid performances. But a guy like Geoff Neal, who's got a fuck ton of power in his hands, he could truly be a good test for Carlos Prates. So I look forward to seeing it. Carlos Prates, you know, he can be regarded as a bad boy in the UFC. You know, he likes to smoke and drink. He does so a lot. You know, even right before fights, he does it. And, you know, we've seen one other guy be really successful throughout doing the same thing, John Jones. So it hasn't, you know, never been done before. It's been done. So you can't really freak out about it. And you can only kind of, you know, not really like it, but also kind of respect it because he's having all this success despite doing all these less marketable things, you know? So yeah, kind of impressive to see him do that shit and continue to win. And it'll be more impressive to see him knock out Geoff Neal. And then maybe even move on to knock out a top welterweight like a JDM or a Bilal or a Shavkat or a Leon Edwards, you know, or an Usman, you know. So yeah, that fight is definitely the next fight to make for Carlos Prates and Neil Magny. I think it's a must-watch fight. Should definitely be on the main card, probably the first fight on the main card. And it's a fight that nobody's taking a piss break during. Everybody's being fucking glued to their screen from the fucking beginning to whenever the fuck the end is. But that being said, how do I see this fight going? Like I said, both fighters have a fuck ton of power. I'm gonna go with the rangier guy. that is Carlos Prates. I think Carlos Prates, given his longer range than Geoff Neal, he's going to be able to hit Geoff Neal at an easier. He's going to be able to have an easier time hitting Geoff Neal than Geoff Neal will have hitting him. So I think Carlos Prates is going to get it done. When? Midway. Second round. It'll be a 3-round fight. I think Geoff Neal survives the first. He gets beaten up bad, though. Geoff will able to probably clip Prates like once or twice with an overhand or a hook. But Prates will be, kind of stealing the show with the rate that he's landing on Geoff Neal. But Geoff Neal's chin should hold up at least for round 1, but he'll be real damaged by the end of it. And I think Carlos Prates lands a really devastating punch. I'm going to play it safe and say a cross at the beginning of round 2 that clips Geoff Neal, gets him down to the fucking ground to where Carlos Prates can finish the fight via ground and pound. And that's it. So, in that fight, I got Carlos Prates via TKO in round 2. Yeah. Overall, you let me know what you think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. But most importantly, subscribe. I love you guys, and I'll see y'all in the next.